Welcome back to Code It with AI. I'm Carl Franklin from AppVNext. That's Jeff Fritz from Microsoft. What's up, Jeff?
Hello, good to see you, Carl. Man, am I excited for this one? Because I think this demo, this scenario we're going to talk about is a doozy that folks are really going to like.
It's really going to show the potential of what you can do with AI in your own applications.
Yeah. So we wanted to get in and talk about and build a sample that used an MCP, a Model Context Protocol. And MCP is a really cool tool to help take some of those non-deterministic things that we get out of the AI and make them deterministic. Give us a set of tools that we can drop into Copilot in Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or some other code editor and get some fixed responses out of it. And there's some really cool tools out there. And Carl and I have talked in the past about how we like using Playwright. Playwright has an awesome MCP that's built into it to help you navigate automatically from an AI. But we wanted to add an MCP into an application that we wanted to show you how to build so that we can show you how you can extend your applications to do a little bit of AI and take in some of these standard tools that are out there that are really, really cool.
I like to think of an MCP as sort of a service-specific interface from your LLM. So you could give your LLM agency to, on your behalf, query a SQL Server. That's a service. Or use Playwright. That's a service, essentially. You know, or anything that has an API you can think of, right?
Sure.
That could be a target for an MCP.
Yeah. And there's libraries out there that will help you take your existing services, wrap them up in the Model Context Protocol syntax so that folks can interact with those and get content into an LLM and interact with it using an AI. It's a really cool set of technologies.
Right. So the demo that we wanted to do today is we wanted to give the user of an application the ability to query a database, a SQL database, using natural language, right?
Yeah.
And this isn't a new idea,
No.
you know, but using an MCP to interface with SQL Server is new.
And it is possible. There is a series of a handful of MCPs that are out there that will let you connect to your database. Very cool stuff. A little bit tricky to configure.
Well, it's early days, and the MCP story is evolving for .NET developers.
It is.
And
not just .NET developers, all developers. Yes.
All developers, right.
Yeah.
And someday it'll be as easy as adding a NuGet package, and boom, you know, you configure it how you want, and Bob's your uncle. But that's not how it works today. It's still evolving.
Right. We need a little bit of a JSON, bit of configuration. Some of these MCPs are written in other stacks, so you might need to bring in a Node runtime or a Python runtime so that it can, your .NET code can interact with it, execute, and work with that technology. That's not a bad thing, but it does introduce levels of complexity that we felt were a little bit further than we wanted to go in a demo to talk about on this stream.
But we ended up doing a very cool demo, and let's show it right now, Jeff.
Fantastic. Here we go. So we wanted to work with some sample data that everybody kind of knows a little bit about. And there's a fantastic collection of Netflix data that's available out there. It's open source. Anybody can grab this. It's formatted for a bunch of different database services. We grabbed the version here for Microsoft SQL Server, and you can scroll down and see exactly where this comes from. It's basically movie and television viewing data from 2024.
Yes.
So there's a link to this in the GitHub repository associated with this week's episode.
And one of the reasons we wanted to use this database is because we have the ability to do joins.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we wanted. We wanted the SQL syntax that the LLM came up with to automatically do joins without us having to say that. Because if you're like me, joins are not our favorite things, right?
A little bit more sophisticated SQL syntax. We wanted to get it to generate than just select star from movies.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to get this running and make sure that it's running with SQL Server in a format that everybody can access, we set up Aspire with this. And when you run Aspire from the app host folder, of course, you get the dashboard. And we've got the dashboard set up so it's running SQL Server. It's going to load in all the data into that Netflix database. And we also have Adminer running here. Adminer is a web-based user interface that will let you connect to a database and interact with it. So I can jump over here to Adminer.
And while you're doing that, I just want to say that the database itself, the SQL database, is running in a container.
Oh, yes.
And it's not anything that you actually have to have. It will create the SQL Server, and it will actually generate the Netflix database from the script.
Right. You don't even need to have SQL installed and running on your system, Windows, Mac, or Linux. You just need to have a container runtime, Docker or Podman running, and it will stand up SQL Server and configure Netflix for you, the Netflix database.
Yay.
So we can jump in here, and there's our Netflix database, and we can see our collection of tables that are present here. So we have a series of movies, seasons for the television shows, and then a summary of viewership.
Awesome.
So,
all right, we got to get to the demo. People are chomping at the bit.
So we've got a simple Blazor website that we called the Data Sage. Your all-knowing database sage is here to guide you. And we started it with a default block of text, a query that you might hear somebody reference, hey, show me all the movies with all the fields that were released in 2024 in English, ordered by release date.
You could also say sorted by release date.
Sure.
It's natural language, right? So
sure.
We found ourselves using SQL, names and commands and whatever.
Because we're used to talking like that as developers. Right. So if I say translate query.
Wow.
Right. It generated a SQL statement for us. Select star from movie where year is 2024, right? In 2024. Locale is English and ordered by release date.
Yeah, and you got some statistics down there too, right?
Yeah, let's flaunt a little bit. Here's how long it took to generate the SQL, how long it took to run, and so forth. And we've got some decent results here that fit the need. Now, right, we can start to get a little bit more interesting with our queries at this point, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we saved a couple queries in our README here that you can go and grab and try. So let's try this one. Show me the top 10 TV shows in 2024 by viewership. Okay. I'm not really asking for much, but go figure out what we need to do for that.
There's the joins, 2 inner joins.
So give me titles, the total views, and it's going to do an aggregate sum here with joins between TV shows and seasons and the viewership summaries. Once again, filtered on the year. And then we're going to group by the title of the TV show. Oh, so good. Took about a second to generate the SQL, but after 50 milliseconds, we know that most folks watch Bridgerton.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Squid Game is up there. Young Sheldon. All right, now we're talking. This is interesting.
All right. So if the light bulb hasn't gone off by now, it really should. Yeah. How much time do you spend on reporting UI and giving widgets to your customers so that they can tweak their reports and their queries and stuff? Whereas, now you can at least generate your SQL syntax, right? And the two things are different, right?
Yeah.
The LLM gave us the SQL syntax, and then we use that just with your standard ADO.NET commands to get the data and bring it back. The light bulb should be going off. Wow, this is my data, and I'm giving my users insight into it in natural language. Wow.
the number of times, Carl, that you get that vice president or a director or somebody in marketing saying, "Hey, this looks really nice, but can we slice the data another way? Can you show me with a little bit of filter criteria there on how this works?" And for us as developers, we either start adding different filtering tools onto a grid like this with sorts and different things, or we can start to hand off a little bit more of a pros-like interaction that they can do with their own data.
Very cool. And we could even, instead of saying TV show name and total views, you could tell it to rename those fields, right? To rename them to, TV show and viewership.
Named TV show and viewership.
Yep.
And it's formatting the way we want.
Boom.
So,
and we could go on. I mean, you could format the numbers with commas, all that stuff, all the details of the work that you would have to do yourself.
Yeah. Let's peek under the covers now and take a look at how we stitch this together. So I'm going to go back over to Visual Studio Code. So here I am looking at the home page, and we've got our text area up at the top. Big deal. We're binding to a database input field. And I'll scroll down here. You'll see the formatting of the presentation of the performance data. That's not as interesting here. We're getting our results as a data table and just iterating over those rows and outputting data columns with a column name and the item formatted in between. Nothing really AI interesting here. We're just doing a dynamic table generation with some HTML.
Right.
Down here, though, is where we get a database connection string and stash that off. But the translate query, this is where the button actually is doing the work. So we get that database input, that query that we'd like to create, and we pass it off to our translator object. We had a translator in last week's episode.
Right.
We're using similar structure here again, and we're saying, get me a database query, and here's the system prompt for this one. And this is a good one that we built out here. Carl, you did a great job starting to put this in here, and then we tweaked and tuned it a little bit.
Right. And again, what we wanted to do was just tell an MCP, hey, go to this database with this connection string, for lack of a better word, all the details of the connection string, and pull out the schema for these tables, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just too laborious for us at this point in time. We're going to come back to this and try it again. But we were able to get the built-in MCP server that's configured in the application to go the embedded one to go get the schema for these tables. And that's really all we needed to do in the system prompt is just give it the schema information.
Yeah. And instead of using an MCP, and we have some code you can find in the repository, you can take a look at where we actually set up, hey, here's how to go and generate some of these select statements. Here's how to go and interact with the table. And we had this available out there, and this works with it. But we want to work with one of the standard MCPs that are out there. So, we figured, you know what? Just hard code the schema for
the
right
demo.
Now.
The schema is all we need.
Yep. So we gave it a little bit of information here in the system prompt. And we gave it a little bit of information about a translation guide. So that some of the slang that we use, we can turn around and use as code interacting with it.
And this is great. This is just standard mapping from English to SQL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it just goes out and connects and does a chat complete async. Once again, just like we've been seeing before, Microsoft Extensions AI, go take that system prompt, and we're specifying return T-SQL from this unstructured query, and it returned the SQL.
Right.
We turn around from the home page and just, if we got a SQL statement, if we didn't get a SQL statement, return. But if we did get one, go execute it using standard ADO and return it. That's it.
That's it. And so what we're not saying here, Jeff, is that the SQL Server MCP isn't good, right?
No,
that's not what
we're
saying.
not saying that at all.
It's evolving, right? And what we want to, instead of going down the rabbit hole of, installing Node and all this stuff and getting things working, and putting it together, instead of that, we're waiting for the teams at Microsoft to simplify access to the MCP, which is work. That's what they're doing right now. And so eventually we're going to have, like I said, something as simple as a NuGet package or an extension that we can install, and we give it the configuration and it just works.
And folks, you'll already see a little bit of that going on when you go look at the MCP registry for VS Code. There's a button you can click that adds an MCP to Visual Studio Code. It does all the configuration for you.
Yeah.
There's movement to get something similar to make it real easy to install and get you access to those tools inside your applications. We are looking forward to that package-like installment of these standard tools.
But we still wanted to show this demo because it illustrates the potential of this technology and how you can bring that to your customers
in the future.
In the future.
And Carl's right. We're going to come back to this a couple times in the future as the technology evolves, and we're going to evolve. I think we can evolve this demo with some of those new features and capabilities as they come online.
Right. Very good. Well, that's it for today or this week. And if you have a suggestion or a comment or even something that you think we ought to cover, send it to us by email at codeit.ai@appfeednext.com. And we read all the email that we get and we'll check it out. And who knows, maybe we'll use your ideas on the show. And that's it. Bye-bye. See you next week.
Take care, friends.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out blazertrain.com and blazerpuzzle.com for more great content.